It's hard to know what the greatest motivational speech ever given was. But one of them was a speech that Hal Brooks, the coach of the 1980 USA Olympic hockey team, gave. The Cold War was at its height. The U.S. and the Soviet Union were locked in a struggle to control the world. And this struggle was played out in public during the Olympic Games. Teams from both countries would compete not only for individual medals and honors, but they carried the reputations of their nations on their shoulders. If they lost, one side could assume that the people in their country was weak and exploitable. If they won, it's possible they could deflate the ambitions of the other nation and avert a war. Well, the United States faced off against the Soviet team in the medal round of the Olympic Games. And the Soviets were the overwhelming favorite. They had collected their team from all of the very best hockey leagues around the world. It was a collection of the best players. And the entire apparatus of the nation was behind that team. The U.S. team. It was the youngest team the United States had ever fielded. It was the youngest team in the entire Olympic Games that year. Hardly any of them had professional hockey experience. There were 4 players on that team who had a little bit of time in the minor leagues. It was a collection of amateurs. Well, no one had any expectation that the U.S. could win, except for one man, their coach, Herb Brooks. Before the game, Brooks gathered his players together and gave what might be the best speech in all of sports history. This is what he said. Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here tonight. That's what you've earned here tonight. One game. If we played them 10 times, they might win 9. But not this game. Not tonight. Tonight, we skate with them. Tonight, we stay with them. We shut them down because we can. Tonight, we are the greatest hockey team in the world. You were born to be hockey players. Every single one of you. And you were meant to be here tonight. This is your time. Well, it was a tough game. Both teams gave everything they had. But against all the odds, the U.S. team won by 1 point. Now, there are many variables that go into a hockey game. But I think that Herb Brooks's speech before that game was the variable that made the difference between that team winning and losing. Think about how they would have played if they had believed what every informed person knew. They were outmatched, outcoached. They were going to lose. They had no hope. Instead, with just a few words, Herb Brooks gave his team hope and determination. That is the power of words. Words given with wisdom and care, they can motivate us to do great things. They can change our spirits when we are discouraged. They can encourage us to continue when we feel like giving up. Words can also cut us apart. They can leave us deflated, discouraged. Well, this morning we're continuing our sermon series through the book of James. And James, in this letter, encourages us to use our words in ways that build people up, in ways that offer this world healing and hope, that help people connect with themselves and connect with God. The key to doing this well, to using our words for good purposes, can be a little bit hard to see in this passage, but James gives us a hint. Speaking in loving ways is not ultimately about self-control. Now, there are times when I have to use self-control so I don't say something harmful or discouraging or unproductive to someone else. But more than this, James encourages us to do the work to transform our underlying desires so that those essential desires of our heart would be to offer this world words of love and hope. At the end of his letter, or at the end of our reading, James provides a series of word pictures within rhetorical questions. He asks if a spring that bubbles up can produce both fresh water and salt water at the same time. He asks if a fig tree can all of a sudden start producing grapes. What he is saying is that our speech originates from deep within us, from the fundamental concerns and desires that we have. If my ultimate goal is to protect my pride, I might lie to you. If my ultimate goal is to get back at someone when they offend me, well, then I might say something mean. But if my desire is to care for this world that God has made and to live into my baptismal promise to respect the dignity of every single person, well, then the words that will bubble up from the heart with that kind of desire will be words that are meant to encourage you, to give you hope, to make you laugh, to give you joy. In order to do this, we must attune ourselves to God's rhythms. We can do this, like you're doing right now, with engagement in our spiritual practices of prayer and worship, forgiveness and thanksgiving. But what's also important is what every coach would tell their players. We need to practice. We need to practice offering this world words of hope and kindness and encouragement and healing. We can speak with purpose and intention, self-consciously trying to love and care for the people around us through our words. And as we do this over and over again, our words will also start to transform our own desires and make our first reflex to speak love. We'll be able to identify those times in our own lives and in the world when people are speaking in destructive ways, and we won't want to follow down that path. James teaches us the power of words. How will you use your words? Will you use them to hurt and to harm, or to give hope and to heal? Amen.